floor's yours.
Right, so this is, let's see, this is the game I made.
Paint jam, you call it?
Yeah. Alright, so this is a really like story-driven game.
Yeah.
You're a star and you're up in space because of reasons, and oh no, you get knocked out of space. So like you fall down to Earth. Right, and yeah, there's no music. That's a shame, right?
I don't think the speakers here work
Can you use your
through HDMI.
Right. Can you use your own machine? Yes. Speaker?
Maybe. Let's see.
There you go. Yeah. You hear anything? Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, that's just me improvising on like the keyboard for like a couple minutes. It's nothing special. But there's music, and you can move around. Oh, by the way, there's a guy you can talk to. So that's cool. Yeah. And yeah, you can choose different weapons. And
So hang on, help me here. What's this? What's the meaning of this bar? This rectangle, white structure.
right, why it's in like a white rectangle.
Yeah, that's right.
That's because I made it in paint.
Yeah.
So all the art is made in paint.
No invisible pixels.
Yeah. Technically, you are allowed to use other programs to create transparency.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of defeats the purpose of,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. Also, you can shoot
I see.
and jump. That's like the main game mechanics. So if I shoot these guys, they kind of die, and you can shoot through the ground. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's really mostly all there is to it.
Did you create a level or?
Yeah, I did create this one level, which is really well designed, you know, considering that you have to like walk 5 miles to the left and then 5 miles to the right in order to talk to this guy. But right, and this guy, turns out this guy was the one who sent you down to Earth for reasons.
Right.
And you can still shoot through the ground, which is great. I just completely forgot to fix that every time I notice it. Right, and it's basically this like mini boss, which just stops moving. Oh no, okay.
That's good.
And this is a power up. So now I can jump like twice.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Which means that I can actually make some progress and move on to the other parts of the level. Which still gonna take 100 years to do.
That's good.
So
Right.
So if there are any questions whilst I navigate all the way over there, that's
Right. So what's the symbolism of the different characters there? They have different interaction abilities, different affordances as well, right? So that guy there, who's that?
this guy is I don't know, I don't remember his name. I was supposed to display like the name, something like that. But this guy is essentially someone who writes.
Someone.
I have to like he's someone who basically sent you down to Earth, so you could help him up into space.
Right. And the house next to it. I mean, my point is my questions. Do the fact that you have you know, all different kind of paint aesthetics, right, on the individual white cubes things, do they have, you know, actual different meaning, or are they kind of uniform? Are they just random drawings but have the same kind of characteristics, or are they actually a significant role in the gameplay?
Well, I mean, like the house next to me.
Yeah.
It's just the house.
What do you do? It's just
You
raw
can't do
forward.
anything with it. Right. It's just picture.
Right. So okay, that's my question. Yeah.
So we move in here. Okay, I'm actually going to die because I can't move the cursor and move at the same time. Which is great.
The kid, that was a bird, right?
That was about something. Also, the
yeah.
music changes when you enter this area. And
That's another bird. Okay.
I added some randomness to the movement, but it turns out that completely ruined their ability to be threatening. Apparently. I mean, I really shouldn't have done okay, to be honest.
Is there a scoring component? Oh, you died.
Okay. Great.
Okay.
Yes, I touched the spike.
I see. Right. So there are certain risks there. So it's yeah.
Yeah, so
Do you-
that's basically it.
a novice player, do you think they know how to operate this game?
Yeah, it's like WASD.
Yeah,
Actually,
but in
it's
terms of all the capabilities and so on, wouldn't you just die in the first round? Because I think I would spend most of the time figuring out what the individual things actually do to me or not, right? Because it's not 100% intuitive.
right. No, yeah, probably. You have like the guy who starts moving towards you.
Yeah, okay.
And most people will figure out that's
Yeah.
an enemy. And the people are just completely stationary. They're probably not a threat.
I guess.
The spikes are pointy, so they probably kill you.
That's the thing, right? Could also be grass. I don't know. I wasn't really sure. But yeah, so I could have a tutorial kind of thing, right? So where you kind of a run through, walk through-ish, where you show the capabilities and the forces and problems and.
Right. Yeah. I. Don't know quite how I do that, like especially with the spikes, without like.
Well, you die.
Well, I guess I just have like the guy just like don't touch the spikes. That's the only thing I can
For
do
example?
without just showing it by killing the player.
Well, you can have an yeah, basically like an. Sometimes you have those that they basically have kind of an event loop running, right? So if you hit a certain proximity to a certain object, then you suddenly have a pop-up or something like this, right? You have that for apps and stuff.
Right.
Anyway, I'm just thinking about, because I like the idea, but because using this very unorthodox way of creating the aesthetics, it makes it really hard to guess and gauge what things mean, because they don't fall quite to the brackets that we're used to seeing, right? You probably figured it yourself. The game is slightly unorthodox. Cool. Questions from your side? Martin?
Sure. How do you do the AI for the enemies?
They move towards you. They know your position, so they know which direction you're going. That's basically it. If they kind of don't, the way I made them like jump kind of is if they don't move more than a certain distance within a certain time frame, they start jumping, because that means they may be stuck. That just means the little guys kind of jump randomly because they're kind of slow to begin with.
Is there any like pathfinding, or they just?
So I actually spent quite a bit of time trying to influence pathfinding for those flying enemies. It just ended up not working, and after spending about, I don't know, 3 hours maybe of that, unsuccessfully, I just completely shelved it because it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
So they just moved towards you as well. Well, they asked for randomness because they can also get stuck. So that's to safeguard against that.
Cool. Question? How much time did you spend on what? Roughly, if you would argue the time distribution, right? The painting, the interaction, the design, the platform itself.
So the drawing, I made, I don't know, probably spent like 2 minutes in total.
Okay, so it's really a creative outlet there, right? So you've used it as a catalytic activity. Okay.
I don't know, like the music also, I didn't spend a lot of time in it. Probably spent like, I don't know, I didn't spend a lot of time on like the first song. The second one is a bit more intricate. Might have spent anywhere from like 20 minutes to an hour on that. I don't know. And then the rest, I guess, is just like programming mostly, level design. It's kind of just like plopping in like platforms and stretching them. So
Yeah.
that wouldn't take too long. And there's also like testing stuff I made, which you know, I spent quite a bit of time
Yeah.
just trying to. There's like an actual boss battle at the end there. I didn't get to see that, but it's really just a big flying enemy with
Right.
a lot of HP, so it's not that interesting. I spent a lot of time trying to get that right. I didn't get it right.
Right.
Because it just got like gets stuck to platforms and stuff.
Okay. So if you were to reconsider doing that kind of jam, right? What would you do differently? Would you do the same thing?
I'd probably spend a little more time trying to find an idea that's actually fun, because when like the theme popped up, which was Starry Night, like the Van Gogh
Yeah.
painting, that was the theme. So I was like, how the fuck do I do this? So I spent some time trying to find something, and I just ended up, well, okay, fuck it, I'll just do a platformer, and you are a star, and it's night. So I'd probably spend a bit more time on like the idea phase, because the idea, quite frankly, sucks, and I'd like to change that till next time.
Yeah. Yeah, I like your initial slide set that is very aligned with the theme at least, so it's quite consistent. So that was good. Cool. Good. Other thoughts? Questions? No? Okay. Right. Okay, well, you know, I'm interested to see your report on that one, so that would be interesting how you write this. But other than that, thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you have one outstanding, right? Ambitious. That's a very long paper, that's good.
Okay, so I extended my game from last time, but nobody was there, so I guess I will explain it a little bit.
You should.
So it's just I can play local game. So the multiplayer doesn't work here because I tried to connect my second phone to the internet here, but for some reason it doesn't work. I have like a recording I did at home. But the local it's also trying to. So the thing is, it's a quiz with one question and 4 answers, but it generates all the questions and answers from a Wikia fan page you can give the app. So there are like Wikia fan pages for most of the TV series. You can just throw the URL at the app, and it will automatically generate questions and answers from this Wikia. So last time I only had a local version of it. Now I extended this because I was suggested to include a multiplayer mode. So this is what I did now. When you launch the app now, you have to put in the server name, server host name, the room name, and then you have to select if you want to open the room or if you want to join the room. So this is how it should work if connection is done. So one person is hosting, the other one is joining, and then the one hosting generates the quiz and is waiting for one to join. And once they join, they both have the same question and have to pick what they want. Yeah, they both have a different score, and eventually once I think this one picks too many wrong options, so you can define how many wrong answers are allowed. And I set it to 2, so the next wrong answer should put him in game over. Yeah, so he's now like he's game over, and the other person can play until he also has 2 wrong answers, or until the round limit is reached, and then it will get compared who's got the highest score, and the highest score wins. Yeah, and then the winner gets chosen, and it will get displayed to 1, and it will get saved to the server who won the game, to a leaderboard. I wanted to also program a web interface for the leaderboard, but I hadn't at the time. So right now it only gets stored and nothing happens with it. Yeah, that's
cool. Cool. Questions? Anyone? Did you get an clear enough picture of the how the quiz is generated and so on? Or?
Yeah, can.
Are you guys aware the Wikia pages? Do you know about this?
I know about Wikia pages.
Yeah, I can explain that one again. I explained it last time, but since you weren't here.
Sure.
So
perhaps show an example, just to code the XML structure or something of Wikia page. If that's of help, I don't know.
I can just show one Wikia page.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would just give the app this URL, this one. Then every Wikia page has a character list, and from this list it will randomly pick a character, like him. And then from this page, here's some kind of biography, I guess. And from this page you can tell the app which tags you want. So for example, I can say I want the actor name or the age, and then it will get the age from here. And for the first character, and then it will pick 3 other random characters for the other 3 question options. Okay. Yeah, and Wikia offers more or less public API. It's not very well documented, but it works in some way. Yeah, that's what I'm using to. I pick first. I pick the main character, that is the right answer, and then I pick 3 other random characters to 3 other options.
Somewhat clear? Yeah. Cool. So your major contribution this time is the networking, right? So
Yeah, the networking. So I've got a Node.js server running,
yeah.
who's handling the communication and synchronization of the clients, which was actually pretty hard because you have to make sure that one client is not ahead of the other client, and that they aren't getting out of sync and getting different questions or answers. Yeah, the main advantage of JavaScript is that it's pretty much asynchronous by design. Yeah, which I use. Pretty much everything is asynchronous now. Everything that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's using Socket.io for Android to emit and receive messages as soon as they come up.
Right. So, and how did you implement it on the Android side then? Yes, you use Socket.io as endpoints. And then did you use callbacks or the like to, how to? Perhaps it would be good to see some operational example of how you block, for example, progression of questions.
So this is my main activity. Yeah, so for example, just socket on, and then if it receives something, then it will put all the question and answers. And to block something, I put, for progress dialog.
Yeah.
I display it, just a loading screen waiting for the player.
Yeah.
So you can't do anything while this shows, and once a question is received, or the other player continues to this level, the progress dialog is just dismissed, and the level timer is started, so the countdown 20 seconds for a question started. And Game Manager is just like the method that handles all the buttons and checks if the correct answer is selected.
Okay. You always have the questions always have 4 or 5 options, right?
You have 5 strings: the question and 4 answers.
Right. Okay.
And the URL for the image to download.
Of course. Cool. So relatively straightforward. Yeah. Sounds good.
The hardest part was to synchronize and make sure they don't get out of sync.
Yeah, I can imagine. It can be quite tricky. Are you dealing with what kind of timeouts are you setting?
You mean right here?
Yeah.
That's just for the image to give enough time to download.
Right.
Ideally, you would, of course, wait normally until it downloads.
Right.
But this is just a quick thing I did for testing. I think it's not even needed because I do it in the async task in Android. It's just to be very sure. Because I noticed last time the internet here is a bit shit.
That's right. Yeah, that's the thing about, right? So in theory, you should never use those magic numbers, right?
Yeah.
Because they are kind of really bad practice, but that's usually the only thing that gets it actually working in practice. So sometimes you need to be a bit creative to accommodate local environment. Okay, that makes sense. In your scoring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you modify your scoring system?
No, it's still based on the time left of each round. Right?
Okay. And you have, it's guaranteed that both players have the same amount of time, right?
Yes, as soon as one client receives the question, he dismisses the progress dialog and then starts the timer.
Right. So they could be slightly out of sync, but ultimately they will be in sync again at the end of the question,
exactly.
right? So yeah.
So one client can have 10 seconds remaining and the other one 11 or 12.
Yeah.
But in the end it doesn't really matter because they each have to wait for the next question.
Yeah, I understand. So that's basically synchronized per question, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All per 2 questions. So
all right.
The client has one active question and another one buffered already.
Nice. Nice. So, but even though the question is buffered, for its activation you need to wait on the synchronization with the other device, right? On the server signal. Or yeah. Okay.
It's just to minimize the loading delay.
Yeah. That's good. That's a very good idea actually. Especially in a network environment, it's quite sensible. Cool. Sweet. Well, I sense there's quite a little bit of effort in there, right? Because networking is usually a bit nasty.
Oh boy.
You know that, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah. So you was playing with Wi-Fi Direct some time ago. So
yeah, while testing, you realize a lot of possible problems.
You need to have physical devices because running the emulator just
doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, but then again, this doesn't even connect to the Wi-Fi.
Did you use physical devices for your testing?
I used one emulated and one physical device.
One physical device, okay. And that worked well?
Yeah, that worked well. Testing.
Okay,
ideally,
cool.
I would use 2 physical devices, but I didn't have to. So.
Right. So, and the server is running on a desktop machine or some server machine, basically?
Yeah, on this computer right now.
I see. Okay. Right.
All right. But it can run on anything that supports Node.js. So
yeah. Cool. That sounds good. Cool. Any question? More? No? No thoughts? Follow-up thoughts? I think it's technically quite ambitious what you did, right? So
yeah, I noticed on the weekend that it takes quite a bit of time.
Right. So this time it wasn't so much about design and thinking about the game, but actually getting stuff to sync. So it's quite tough. I assume you learned a lot from that exercise.
Yeah, a lot about networking and handling various different problems that could happen.
You didn't employ any sort of encryption or whatever else, right? So
no,
you leave that to the infrastructure itself. Yeah.
Maybe in the future the main idea behind having a server running and not only peer-to-peer is that the server handles stuff like anti-cheating and stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be future
That's right.
Yes.
But this should be easy, right? You have the server, so it's easy to
Yeah.
so it's not a peer-to-peer exercise where it would be a lot harder to do that.
Yeah.
But cheetah control, yeah, of course. That's it. Cool. Well, if there are no more questions, then well, let's thank the presenter, I guess. So, quite some work actually.